I wonder, just given that example you gave about somebody in a taxi queue shouting abuse towards a woman, where's the criminal test for that? When does it become a criminal act? Would shouting at somebody in a taxi queue then be a criminal offence like you've described there? Is that the bar?
Well, what we did in the thing was to make it that I mean, obviously, if you're shouting at, oh, you know, I fancy you, I wouldn't mind going home with you. There's levels of this, but almost all hatred case in the hate crime legislation, what we recognized was that it's usually language that has this business of making something gives the testimony that leads us to say that there is an aggravating feature here, which is about racism, for example. And it's usually that you black whatever, or you filthy brown rag-headed whatever. That's what gives us the indicator. But in the more grievous kinds of this thing, then of course I think that looking at people's phones and looking at their social interactions in their social media gives you another indication of whether they are people who are whose attack on somebody from a minority, or whose attack is something that might be based on misogyny, attacks on women. We have to look for the evidence of that. So shouting at somebody in a queue, something that is kind of offensive, nobody's talking about just minding and finding somebody ignorant and idiotic, but it's about the uglier stuff, which really does diminish women's sense of themselves, their feelings about wanting to be out in public places, the way in which women feel frightened by some of that language. I mean, the number of times we heard evidence from women about being in public places where they're then actually put in fear by the aggressive nature of the ways in which they're spoken to. And that business at the bus stop of, saying, please go away. And then thinking, oh my God, if I get on this bus, he's going to follow me. If I get on this bus, he follows me, he'll see where I live. And so all of that. And so and it goes back to something that's so important. And it goes back to the business about how we bring up our children, where, little girls from the age of 8 and 9, and we know what we do. I mean, I had to stop I had to do it myself. I can't pretend that I didn't say to my daughter Cleo when she was little, don't talk to men if they stop their cars and so on. And you do emphasize the men bit. You don't go into the park, and if a man starts, and we already are inculcating in our girls a sense that there's bad stuff out there, and that you've got to protect yourself, and that you have to self-safeguard. And there's a sense in which then women feel that if something bad does happen to them, they must have somehow failed in what you're supposed to do to protect yourself. It must have been my fault that this happened to me. Why did he do it to me? And women all say that to you. All my clients have always said, why did he rape me? Why did he do that to me? And we know that it's often about that business of entitlement, that business of wanting you